Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the e-learning space for MGM Higher Secondary School, Bokaro. This is the first video for Unit 2, Section B, Class 8, English, Main Course Book. As discussed earlier, Unit 2 is based on the green nature. The lesson that we are reading today is titled Back from the Brink, and it is an account written by Rita Banerjee and Maya Khosla. Let us read about these writers. Our first writer, Rita Banerjee. She is an author, photographer, and gender activist from India. She is the founder of the 50 Million Missing online campaign to raise awareness of female gendercide in India. She is an activist who has been working hard to bring about female equality in our country. She has founded many campaigns, written many books, and is actually a photographer as well. Our next author or writer, Maya Khosla, she is currently the Poet Laureate of Sonoma County, and her new collection of poems, All the Fires of Wind and Light, is forthcoming from 16 Rivers Press in 2019. A wildlife biologist and writer. So she studies the living things of nature. She is a wildlife biologist and writes about them, gives accounts of them. Her work takes her to wilderness areas, to the page and to the screen. So she goes to these wild places, reports them, writes about them, and even makes documentaries or short movies on them. She has documented forests, fire scientists, and firefighters talking about ways to be wise about wildfire. Maya's work has taken her across coastal India, Kenya, and the United States. This is the introduction of the writers. A small introduction about the story. The prose is an edited extract from the Making of the Wild Meat Trail. So this is not the complete text, it is just an edited extract, something taken from the actual work, The Making of the Wild Meat Trail. It is a feature article, an article that is written before the publishing of a movie or a documentary. It is a real life account, and it is made as a documentary on the wildlife crisis in northeastern states of India. As we know, northeastern states are lush states with a lot of forest cover, and they are home to a variety of animals. But in the recent times, due to poaching and illegal hunting, because of the value of these animals in the illegal market for their horns, for their tusks, and for medicinal purposes also, the population of wildlife is drastically decreasing in these northeastern states. And this is the account of one such state. It also is talking about the lifestyle of the tribes of some of the northeastern states and the changing times and how they are adjusting in these contemporary times. Let us now read the story and go through the text. Have you ever visited a wildlife sanctuary or a thick forest area? How did it feel like? The thing about nature, children, when you visit them or be in the company of nature, it gives you a different kind of peace which you never can expect from a modern city. Let us read the text. Deep in a forest in the northeast, Tai set down his backpack of cane and bamboo at the base of the tree. Barefoot, he clasped the trunk with his arms and legs and climbed up to about 9 meters high. Swiftly, he slid across a thick horizontal branch and extracted a dead red-bellied squirrel from the handmade trap he had set much earlier. So while I read and explain, try to visualize it, try to get an imagery in your mind. One of the forests in northeast, that deep in a forest, the author and some other people are with her. These are tribal people with whom she is traveling. One of the person's name is Tai, and his backpack. Backpack is the, you can say, the suitcase kind of thing that you carry when you travel. So his backpack, which is the bag of essentials that he's carrying on his back, is actually made of cane and bamboo, a natural handmade thing. And he is barefoot. He's not wearing slippers or shoes like the city people. And in deep in the forest, he is barefoot and he is holding the trunk of a tree with both his arms. Clasp means tightly holding with both arms and legs, and then he's climbing the tree in the same way, and it's almost 9 meter high. After that, he reaches one of the branches of the tree, which is horizontal and thick. He goes across that branch and he extracts, means takes out or procures a dead red-bellied squirrel. Belly means the underside of a squirrel, the stomach area. It is red in color. And how did he extract it? Because the squirrel was trapped in a handmade trap that this Thai person had earlier set over there. So of course he wants to eat the meat of the squirrel and use its skin for other purposes. Hence it has trapped a red-bellied squirrel. This is a tribal person deep in the forest, and the account is being given by the author, who is a city dweller. Come to the next page. Tai slid down the tree and was on the ground in less than 30 seconds. From this sentence, we come to know that Tai, the tribal man with whom these writers are traveling and who climbed up the tree to procure a dead squirrel, is actually quite adept in climbing trees, because within 30 seconds he had covered the 9 meter distance. Maga took the squirrel, turned it over, and then placed it in his backpack. So the other tribal man, his name is Maga, he took the squirrel and placed it in his backpack for future use. As we continued along the path, slipping and slithering across leaf litter, our companions pointed out other traps on the way. So these men, tribal men, they showed that they have not just put one trap on the tree to catch the squirrel, they have placed various other traps around the forest in order to catch animals, to hunt them down. And walking was not easy for these people because the whole forest was covered with dead leaf, and of course when the sun does not reach in a dense forest and it is humid and the rain water has covered the floor, then it becomes quite slippery. So these city dwellers were having a little problem in walking on the ground. Cameras in hand, we unsteadily crossed gushing streams on bridges made of a single tree trunk. So because they're documenting, because they're making a film on the tribals of this northeastern area, they have cameras in their hand, and cameras are heavy and the floor is slippery. So their walking style is not steady. They're unsteady, means they're shaking while walking. And now they're crossing a gushing stream, a stream full of water. And what is the bridge made of? It is not a modern bridge of steel or cement or reinforced or any kind of rods and iron. It is actually a simple bridge made out of a single tree trunk. Means a big tree trunk is touching both ends of the land and the stream is flowing from the middle. Giorgio mimicked, this is the name of the third tribal man, the sounds of a barking deer fawn in distress, hoping to lure its mother. So the other tribal man, he is mimicking. Mimicking means imitating or bringing out the sounds of a barking deer fawn in distress. Barking deer is a kind of deer, and fawn is the young one of a deer, and distress means pain. So he's trying to make out the sounds of a young deer who is in pain, so that when the mother deer hears, she comes running and they can easily hunt it. Lure means to bring out. Dense forests crowded around us, making it impossible to see further than a few meters ahead. So the forest was so dense, covered in thick trees, that people could not see within a few meters. They did not know their way very well, but the tribal men were easily walking and knowing the area. Our pace was much slower than we hoped. These two women who are documenting or making the film and giving an account to us about their stay in Northeast, they are telling us they are walking quite slowly. They did not hope to walk this slow. We continued to film the three young men and worked until evening before settling down at a clearing. So she says that the three young men, Tai, Maga, and Karko, you can also say Harho, they were being filmed by these young women. And when it was evening, they settled down at a clearing. Clearing means an area where the trees are not so dense. Our Naishi companions brewed black tea. Naishi is the name of the tribe with whom they are traveling. And now, when they sat at the clearing, they made a fire in the middle and they also made some black tea. And while she was looking in the flames, the fire, she realized and wanted to tell us how she came to Northeast. Okay, I recalled how our sojourn in the Northeast began. Sojourn simply means temporary stay, how she came to stay here for some time. In the year 2002, we filmed the very first rehabilitation of two Himalayan black bear cubs orphaned by hunting in the Pakka National Park in Arunachal Pradesh. So she is telling us that she came in Arunachal Pradesh in the year 2002 and she was actually making a movie, a documentary on how two Himalayan black bear cubs, means baby bears from Himalaya, whose parents were killed by hunters, were brought here into Arunachal Pradesh, Pakke National Park to rehabilitate them. Rehabilitate means when a person or an animal has lost their actual or natural habitat or people have destroyed their homes, then they're taken from that place to a new place where they can prosper and live. So that rehabilitation, to capture that on the camera, these women had come to Arunachal Pradesh. But sadly, we knew that even with a successful relocation, nothing stopped the bears from being hunted down again as adults. Now she is also telling that even though as small cubs we brought them here to Arunachal Pradesh, when they grew up, nothing could have stopped them from being hunted by other people. Men are like that. Hunting is common in all the seven northeastern states of India: Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Nagaland, Tripura, Manipur, Meghalaya, and Mizoram. So these are the seven northeastern states of India which have good population of nature, means the forests are thick and they have rich wildlife. However, hunting is common over here. People hunt these animals for eating them or for using their fur or for using their bones and teeth and claws for medicine or any kind of other superstitious things. Tai, Maga, and Jarjo are from one of the Naishi tribes who have been hunting in these forests for generations. So these three tribal men with whom the writers are traveling along with the camera, documenting a movie, they belong to the Naishi tribe and for generations, means for a long period of time, they have been hunting in these forests. The animal they hunt provide food and bones, furs and feathers for decoration and rituals during most festivals. So these animals are hunted because their flesh is good for food. Their bones and furs and feathers are used to decorate during festivals and other rituals. Come to the next page. Over the years, these tribals realized that the demand for the animals and birds they hunted was growing steadily. Hornbills, barbets, civets, squirrels, and many more rare species were making their appearances as dead meat at village markets, with prices ranging from 500 to 5,000. A barking deer was sold for 6,000. So the tribals have now realized that the demand for these animals and birds have increased. These animals, she tells us the name of hornbills, barbets, civets. These are the rare species that whose meat is always being sold in the village market. And the price of these meat is from 500 to 5,000. In fact, the meat of the barking deer is sold for 6,000. So, when the meat market is increasing, it means only one thing: the forest is becoming silent. How does the forest becoming silent? Because the animals, the wildlife that is actually a part of the forest is being killed to be sold in the market. There was a strange and empty sky where the wild birds used to fly. The next victim could very well be the forest itself. So the author is telling us now the skies where the birds used to fly looks quite empty because all the birds are being hunted, and maybe in just a few matter of time, it is just a matter of time that the forest will also be destroyed. Now, our all consuming goal was to document the extent of hunting and to determine whether there was any hope for the future of wildlife in the Northeast. So, now we come to know why these people are here. They're documenting how far the wildlife of these forests have been destroyed, so that they want to see is there a hope, can these forests still be saved? In the process, we spent time with several tribes, including the Apatanis, Chakisang, and Naishis. So, while documenting their movie, in order to see how much the forest wildlife has been destroyed and what is the hope of saving them, they stayed with these tribes and found out more about the forest and attended many of their festivals and even attended some of the tribal festivals. We witnessed the traditional uses of animal parts, monkeys' fur, cats' claws, skins of bears and other animals, and the beaks of hornbills. And while living in these tribes in the forest, they found out how the different body parts of the hunted animals were being used by the tribal people. On one occasion, while filming in a village, we came across a young boy who had just returned with a monkey kill. So a young boy had just killed a monkey and he had just returned with it. He wanted to use the fur to make a new case for his dao. Dao means dagger. Dagger is a small knife, a sharp knife that is used for hunting. So when he killed the monkey, he wanted to use the skin and make a cover. Case means cover where he can keep the dagger. His reason was simple. He was attending a wedding and it was a matter of prestige. It would be much better than the other boys' dagger cases. So, why he killed the monkey? Because he wanted the skin and make a dagger out of it to show off to other people. Means people would be very proud of his activity that he killed a monkey and made dagger cases out of it. And of course, it will look better than the dagger cases of the other boys. So this is the mentality of the people, of the tribal people, why they use the products from the wildlife. In Chizami village, Nagaland, the interviews we did with different generations of hunters revealed some interesting facts about the decline in wildlife here. The older hunters had intimate knowledge of the animals, their habitat, their food, even their smell. Now she talks about once upon a time, they went to Chizami village in Nagaland and they were interviewing the different generations, mean the old people and the young people, and what they found out about wildlife was interesting. What was interesting? The older generation, the older hunters were easily able to identify the animals, where they live, what food they eat, even their smell, how they smell. They could see the photo of the animal and easily understand which animal it is. But the younger hunters, they did not know much about these animals. How and why? Because of course the animals were being killed. So the old people in their generation, they had witnessed these animals, but the younger hunters, these animals were already long gone. So they hadn't seen them much. And in fact, the teenage boys have hardly seen any of these mammals. So this was enough to make them realize that hunting had reached crisis proportions. So the tribals and even these writers, these women who are documenting the crisis of the northeastern states, the wildlife crisis especially, they understood that now the situation of these forests is very, very vulnerable. The stage has reached where extreme damage can be done. In January 2007, the tribal people of Rachi village had arrived at a consensus. A self-imposed ban on hunting for 3 years was the only way to reverse the situation. So look, even the tribal people are worried about their wildlife because the wildlife sustains them. It gives them food. It gives them other things and products. So when the wildlife is decreasing, their life will be adversely affected. So when they realize that hunting has become too much in the forest, animals are not as much as it used to be, what they decided in January 2007, especially in the Ranchi village, that now they are going to ban hunting for 3 years means they had taken a common decision. Consensus means common decision, and imposed a ban on themselves only. Nobody else came from outside to give ban hunting. They themselves decided that now we are not going to hunt animals at least for 3 years. Earlier in Konama, Nagaland, the youth had taken it upon themselves to ban hunting as their forests were almost silent. In fact, earlier in Nagaland also, the youth, the young people, they had decided that no one will be hunting in our forest because the forests have become almost silent. The wildlife has almost been lost. Incredibly, they managed to sustain the ban for 10 years to revive the wildlife population and set up infrastructure for ecotourism. So it was incredible. Incredible means very not easy to believe that they managed to ban hunting for how many years? 10 years. And because of that, the wildlife population had again revived, and now they have made infrastructure. Infrastructure simply means the basic facilities that is necessary for ecotourism. Ecotourism is a way of earning money by inviting guests from other people to watch the nature. This is a way of generating revenue for the state. Many of the hunters we spoke to were willing to be wildlife guides if they were given a chance to make a livelihood. So even many of the hunters of the forest or these tribal hunters, they said that they want to be wildlife guides. Wildlife guides mean they can take people inside the forest, show the different animals, tell them details about the animals and the nature. If they're given a chance to make a livelihood, means if they're paid enough to keep going in life. In Manas, Assam, there is already a successful example where ex-poachers have turned into forest guides, putting their intimate knowledge of the forest and its denizens to far better use. A powerful example of change. So we say in Assam, the authors are telling us that some of the ex-poachers, poachers means people who used to illegally hunt animals, and ex means they are no longer doing that. So now they have become forest guide, and they know the forest so well and its denizen. Denizen mean the people or the animals and the trees that are living in the forest. They know them so well that they are becoming forest guide. And this is a very huge example or a powerful example of change. If people decide to do the right thing, then you can easily do it. These are first steps, but positive ones towards a more sustainable future. Means this is the first step, obviously, but these are positive ones. And they are sustaining the future. Sustainable future means if we use something in such a way that we can benefit from it now also and keep it for the future use also. This is how we have to live in harmony with the nature. Sustainability is the answer to the damage that is happening. We have to live in harmony with the nature in such a way that we use it not incessantly, but in only how it is slowly required so that we can save it for the future as well. They have proved that protecting and preserving our forests and all creatures, great and small, is not a spectator sport. So the writers Rita Banerjee, Maya Khosla, they're telling us that these tribal people over the years they have proved and shown that if you want to protect and preserve the forest and all the creatures that are big and small living inside the forest, you cannot just stand and watch. Spectator means to stand and watch. Okay, you have to get involved. And how do you get involved? By restraining yourself from hunting these, by turning into forest guides, by utilizing the nature for to generate income. That's all the account or the feature is about. This is the glossary that you're going to go through and learn it. That's all for today, children, and we'll meet in our next video lesson to discuss more about the chapter and the textual exercises. For now, you're going to read the chapter and underline the difficult words, and we are going to discuss it in our next online session. Thank you, everyone, and take care.